Something's new now behind your eyes. Feel it left behind. I don't know.
Hey everybody! Welcome to Rebellious Unknown. I'm Dave. Caitlin's here with us.
There's a dramatic pause before that one. I like that.
Finger guns for you. How are you, Caitlin?
I'm alive for
Yay.
today. Mm-hmm.
That is good. That is a good way to start the day. Good way. So we have, let's see, we've got a lot of people to say hello to. So, hey, Claude, how are you? We've got paranormal spirits here. No, that's just us.
Fooled you.
Hands out. The pumpkin spice compels you. Indeed, it does. We've got one Miss Caitlin Greer here.
That's
Hi, Erin.
me.
It is you. Cassie's here. Hey, Cassie, Forensic
Cassie.
Mystics. Thanks, Cassie. Hey, Angel Wings. About time you're on. Well,
We're here.
We're here. And Chris is here. Hey, Chris. Akashi Chris in the house. Oh, thank you, Enzo. You like my new hairdo. Thank you. You can't tell it's a little purpley, but the lighting is not green. But yes, if you guys are in Fairborn, Ohio, go see Salon U. The ladies there are amazing. But thank you.
The Happeningburg that it is.
The Happeningburg that it is, yes. Well, all of the UFO people love it because right Pat's here. So, yep. All right. So tonight, I kind of feel like I want to chat for a few minutes until more people get here because I want to warn them tonight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a spicy one. It's not even spicy. It's disturbing in some ways. There are disturbing pictures. There's disturbing audio.
It's just a video of my daily life. Disturbing pictures and disturbing audio.
That's right. It's
Oh,
Caitlin
really
in the
is.
morning. You'll hear her.
After I broke my coffee machine, that's what happened. That was it. That's the end of it.
I
Now
know.
get over it. Damaged.
I'm so sorry. Well, hopefully it'll be are you getting a new one? What's happening with it?
Yeah, I called them today. I old ladied the shit out of Keurig, and I was like, my coffee machine broke. Get me a new one. This is so stupid.
I love it. Well, are they giving you a new one?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It worked. Mm-hmm. Wait, Caitlin pre-coffee? Can we show that on YouTube?
No. It's similar to Caitlin, post 10 drinks. It's a very similar scenario.
Well, Father Dave has left the building. I don't even know if anybody noticed it yet, but yes. Hey, Renee, what's up? Cassie, I'm here for Oracles and Beyond as well. It's just same Cassie, but we love it. Love it. I like Renee's comment. Yo, sup, UFO, starcrafts, extraterrestrial, alien, praying mantis, insectoids, community, planet, orange, purple ring. Yes.
I'm looking at the hieroglyphics. I'm trying to read them.
Yeah.
You got it?
Is there a man pooping? What is that? Doesn't it look like... No, that's... Yeah. One of those guys on the bottom is definitely popping a squat. I don't care what anybody says.
Dinosaurs.
Welcome.
I like the ghosty at the end. That's good.
Yeah, he's cute.
Yes. All right. So Tonight, we are going to be talking about a really, really fascinating case, the case of the exorcism of Annaliese Michel. It's a doozy, and it's a long one. So grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back, relax. I'm going to tell you the story. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be reading it. So if you guys have questions, pipe in or pipe up. Caitlin, if you see questions on here that look good, just let me know because I'm not going to be able to see them probably.
Okay, let me.
I'll do my best, but
move the chat somewhere where I can actually see it,
okay,
so I don't get distracted. Because we all know that I get distracted.
Enzo comes prepared. He already has his drink.
All right.
Nice. I have my drink starting at like 2 p.m. That's why I sit and wait.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. All righty. Okay. Are we ready? Are you ready, kids? It's a good one. So this one, it has, the reason it's so long is there are a lot of details that are important. It has a huge cast of characters, and it's just fascinating. So, and we're going to discuss it all. So here we go. All right. Annaliese Michel was born in 1952 in a small town in Bavaria. Great. I'm already on like the fifth word and I can't say it. Bavaria, West Germany. Her family were devout Catholics. Her parents, Joseph and Anna, were very religious and strict parents, but the girls loved them, and the family was a close-knit one. The girls would pray every morning and evening, and the family would pray over the rosary together every day.
So much
commitment, right? They also attended church at least once a week. So very religious household. And this was common in that town at that time. And this was in the 50s. And if I remember correctly, the town was like 70% Catholic, if not more than that. So it wasn't uncommon. It was a very religious town.
Okay.
During her childhood, Annaliese struggled with health issues, including, this girl just doesn't get a break ever. I'm just going to warn you that right now. Struggled with health issues, including the measles, the mumps, and scarlet fever, all before the age of 5. However, despite dealing with illness, she was a great student in school, and she especially excelled in Latin. Her dream was to go on to college and become a teacher. In 1968, just before her 16th birthday, Annaliese had the first of several seizures. She lost consciousness during school and was found by her classmate to be in a trance-like state. Later that night, Annaliese awoke, claiming she felt as if something was pressing down on her. She couldn't move, she couldn't breathe or speak, and she lost control of her bladder. Although the experience frightened her, there was about several months passed, and it didn't happen again, so she put it out of her mind. Then, about a year later, on August 24th, 1969, Annaliese suffered another seizure. This time, her mother brought her to the family physician, who referred them to a neurologist, Dr. Siegfried Luthi. He performed an EEG, which was normal. Dr. Luthi later explained to investigators, and if you don't know the story, you'll understand why there are investigators. I judged from the description I was given that this was probably a case of cerebral seizures of the nocturnal type with the symptoms of a grand mal epilepsy. Now, grand mal seizures, which are now called tonic-clonic, consist of 2 phases.
Time out.
Yes.
What are they called?
Tonic-clonic, not a drink, tonic-clonic.
That's a new term for grand mal seizures?
Yeah.
Why do we rename things?
Well, here's the reason why. Because they consist of 2 phases, the tonic and the clonic. So during the tonic phase, persons may lose consciousness and experience bodily and respiratory paralysis as the muscles involuntarily contract. Finally, during the clonic phase, the person's face, arms, and legs spasm and jerk uncontrollably and rapidly. Then when the body relaxes, the bladder may also release. So tonic, everything like tightens up. And then the clonic is when all of the activity starts happening.
It sounds like a Sesame Street game, right?
Tonic
Now
clonic.
it's time for the tonic clonic. And then everybody, and then he's a pants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also like a Sesame Street game, so, you know.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Dr. Luthi theorized at that point that Annaliese had epilepsy, but felt because the seizures had been a year apart, there wasn't a need to prescribe medication at this point. Annaliese continued to struggle with health issues, coming down with multiple illnesses, including tuberculosis. And at this point, she was sent to a sanatorium that specialized in lung conditions. At the sanatorium, Annaliese had other girls her age around her, but she still struggled being away from her family. Even though she was lonely, her roommate still described her as a jolly girl, but one who likes to talk about religion. Sounds fun. While she was there, Annaliese had another seizure. Then one evening, while she was praying and looking out the window at the surrounding landscape, it started to have a golden glow around it. Annaliese was brought out of this reverie by hearing the girls around her calling her name and asking what was wrong with her. She explained that she'd simply been praying, and they told her that she'd been staring unresponsive and that her hands had changed into what looked like paws with claws, and her eyes had turned black. Annaliese looked down at her hands, which were still clutching her rosary, and they looked normal to her. But she saw that her rosary was also had that same kind of golden glow. After this experience, Annaliese began to look healthier, and she was convinced that she had a religious vision. She believed that the Blessed Mother Mary had sent her a message that her faith was not misplaced and that she should continue on. One of the doctors at the sanatorium performed another EEG on her. It showed some slight abnormalities, but nothing that was too out of the ordinary or concerning. He prescribed her an anticonvulsant medication and transferred her to a clinic where he also worked so that he can continue to monitor her for 6 more weeks. And then she had another EEG that showed normal activity. It was after this that one day while praying, Annaliese had a vision of a horrible face that sneered at her, what she referred to as a Fratzen. And Fratzen, I believe, if I remember correctly, in German means like grimacing face or grimace or something like that. Annaliese knew this was not a heavenly vision this time, and she began to worry that this dark force was now inside of her. She recovered from tuberculosis and was able to return home. When she did, her sisters noticed that her personality had changed. She was more morose and serious, and she would often have angry outbursts. In fact, Annaliese herself noticed that she didn't feel happy. In fact, she remarked that she didn't really feel anything at all. However,
hold on.
No.
You said that she had visions of what it was called, a what?
Fratzen.
Fratzen.
Okay. Yeah.
Or like, did you say
So,
grimace?
like a demon face. It means grimace, and not the.
Imagine if it was like actual grimace, though. That's where my brain went the entire time. I'm just thinking of her like hallucinating grimace.
You got like
Come on, Enzo.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
It could have been grimace.
It could have
It's
been
grimace to me. Okay,
Yep.
I would imagine grimace is the devil now. He's replaced John Cena.
Oh, man, no, John. Hi, Marvin and Amy and Lee. Okay, so back to grimace. Yeah,
Sorry.
no. So she came back home. The sisters noticed she was not the same. Her personality was not the greatest anymore. She was having some issues. And she continued to have visions of the Fratzen and also began to smell horrible odors that resembled, I can only imagine what you're going to say, that resembled burning fecal matter.
So it was McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Clearly. Yeah.
There we go.
At some point, her mother, Anna, brought her to a doctor to check up on her lungs. They were clear, but the doctor sent her to a specialist as he was concerned about a circulation issue now. The specialist, for whatever reason, was more concerned about her seizures and thought she needed to see a neurologist, which, if you remember, she already has. He then prescribed her a different anticonvulsant. In the summer of 1972, Annaliese had a severe seizure that left her exhausted for days. She then had a cluster of smaller seizures, but then they seemed to stop. However, before school started, her mom, Anna, brought Annaliese back to her neurologist, Dr. Lethe, who prescribed her yet another anticonvulsant named Dilantin. It was after this that Annaliese began to report she was hearing knocking on the walls of their home. Anna brought Annaliese to an ear specialist, but her hearing was normal, so it wasn't that. I mean, this girl's going to so many doctors, which is funny because if you hear different versions of the story, one of the things a lot of people say is that her parents didn't take her to get medical help, which is clearly not true. Like, they took her all the time to the doctor.
They literally took her to every specialist. So, like, she smelled burning fecal matter, so we took her to the fecal matter specialist, the smelling fecal matter specialist.
Yeah.
So we could, for those who smell that.
Yes, she went to a lot. She went to a lot and tried a lot of different meds. But okay, so her hearing was normal, so that wasn't it. Later, her sisters also claimed that they too could hear the knocking in the house. It was at this point that her mother, Anna, began to wonder if the problem with Annaliese was spiritual. One day, she walked into the living room to find Annaliese staring at a statue of the Virgin Mary. Her face was grimaced and her hands were contorted. Anna later told Annaliese that they looked like, and think about what the girls had said to her at school, they looked like paws with claws and that her eyes were black. So she says exactly the same thing that the girls at the school said. Now, what we don't know is, did Annaliese tell her mom that the girls had said this about her? And maybe that's what the mom saw. We don't know.
Paws with claws also sounds like Sesame Street.
It does, yeah. Paws with claws. Welcome to Tonic and Paws with Claws. Yeah. Got some good words in here. Anyways, Annaliese continued to struggle with more health issues, and she began to feel like she began to get depressed. And she even got to the point where she was considering taking her own life. In the summer, her father took them to a trip to San Damiano, a place where Annalise had been wanting to go for as long as she could remember so that she could visit a shrine at the house of Rosa Quattrini. If you don't know who Rosa Quattrini is, this is also associated with Padre Pio or Father Pio. It's an interesting one. Check it out. But this is already a very long story, so I wasn't going to get into it. But just keep in mind, Rosa has a shrine at her house.
Google it.
Google it.
Basically,
People.
if you don't know who it is, suck it. Go look it up on your own. That's not what we're here for.
That's right. But when she got there, she couldn't physically enter the shrine. She said that the soil burned and that she thought the people who were there looked like they were gnashing their teeth. She also had to avert her eyes from the picture of Christ as she could not look upon it. When they tried to get her to drink the holy water from the well at the shrine, she couldn't, and she claimed that it smelled horrible. It was also during this trip that Annalise attacked a woman, Thea Hine, from her town, who had also gone on the pilgrimage trip. I can't remember if I said it already, but if you guys are interested in this, Stephanie Harlow on YouTube did an amazing 3-part. She does a deep dive into this story. And she is not a fan of Thea Hine, which I agree with her. Thea Hine is kind of a busybody. Yeah. She was like an older woman, I think, in their village. She also had kind of come on this pilgrimage trip. She's very much the busybody. I think she called her like the German Karen. It's pretty true. But yes, so during this trip, Annalise attacked Thea Hine. She was wearing this like a medal, like a religious medal under her dress, and Annalise just lunged at her on this bus that they were on and tore it from her and tore part of her dress off with it. And so Thea Hine had already suspected that Annalise was possessed, but now she was convinced. Annalise reported that when she was doing these things, when she was acting out and becoming violent, it was as if she was within a hole within herself. She could see, but she couldn't do anything. So basically, she was more of a spectator than anything.
That sounds fun. I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie. It sounds fun to just be like, it wasn't me, but I had front row seats to the show.
It's true. I mean, it depends on your feelings about Thea Hine, I suppose. Yeah.
That's Thea Hine.
That wasn't me. At the end of the summer, on September 3rd, 1974, Annalise went back to Dr. Lethe, the neurologist, where she told him for the first time about the evil faces, the Fratzen, and the horrible smell. So she hadn't told him this before. Later, Annalise and Anna both claimed that Dr. Lethe told them they should find a priest to help her, though Dr. Lethe later denied this. He says he never said it. It was at this appointment that he prescribed her Aolept drops, which were antipsychotic drops. Though he never mentioned to Annalise, and this might have been important, he never mentioned to her or her mother that he felt she was having hallucinations. He just gave her a new medication, didn't tell her what it was. And
I like that.
He gave her aioli drops.
Aioli.
Yeah.
Aioli.
Yeah.
Aioli drops. The Fratzen, that's a nice, strong term. You know,
The Fratzen.
they can add edge to anything in this room.
Good
What
band
does it
name.
mean?
The Fratzen. That's it.
The Grimace.
Blitzkrieg. The Fratzen.
The
It just
Fratzen.
everything's. You know.
I gotcha. It's German. A lot of the
Yeah.
German words sound like
I like it.
badass. Yeah.
That's the aioli drops. Let's
The
go.
Fratzen aioli. The aioli Fratzen. Yeah. So he never told her that he thought she was having hallucinations, basically, and he also did not refer her to a psychiatrist. So, maybe it would have been a good idea. But anyway, so it was at this point that Thea Hine, the woman Annalise had attacked, got the family in contact with 2 priests, Father Habinger, some Father Hay, and Father Roth.
Father, hey.
Father Hay. I think it's Habinger. After hearing her story, they also consulted with another priest, Father Rodwick, who was an expert on possession and exorcism. He had written a book on it. Position, yes, the positions of exorcisms. So they kind of told him what was going on with her. And he thought she did show signs of possession, but he was 80 years old at the time. He was like, look, I am too old to be doing this. So he sent them to Father Herman. Now, Father Herman then went and met with Annalise between 8 and 10 times. And he really did kind of question whether or not she was in fact possessed. She talked about seeing the Fratzen, though she couldn't give him a description of them. She just said she saw them, but when he asked her to describe them, she couldn't. And she didn't seem to have any aversion to religious objects while they were together. He prayed with her many times. She didn't respond. And so he recommended that she go see a neurologist, which we all know she's already seen several times. However, Father Roth, who was one of the first priests, he was not so convinced, and he began talking to a colleague, Father Alt, about Anna's case. Now, Father Alt was an interesting character. He felt he had psychic abilities and that he was telepathic. He also had a really keen interest in the paranormal. After many discussions, Father Alt decided to write the bishop about Annaliese's case. Even though he stated he had not met with her yet, he relayed what many people had been saying about her up to this point. He said he wasn't 100% sure what was going on, and the bishop basically said, well, let's just keep an eye on it. And he did tell her that, what are you going to do? And he said Annaliese's face and eyes were changing. People had talked about this. She had also exhibited on several occasions extraordinary strength, and quite a few people had now smelled the foul smell she also complained of. So by this point, some people were experiencing some of the same things she had been.
Okay.
At least the reporting that they have. In 1973, Father Alt met with Annaliese for the first time. During their conversations, she seemed like a healthy and normal young woman. He prayed over her and did a small blessing. He reported that her face changed and her eyes darkened a bit while he was praying. But when he was done, she seemed like and reported that she felt better. Annaliese then went on to college. She claimed that she was taking all of her meds at this point in time, and she also met with Father Alt regularly every 2 weeks as his parish was right near her school. She was still seeing the demonic faces and was starting to feel very drained and tired. In fact, she got to the point where her roommate Ursula, yeah, go for it. Ursula.
There's a lot. No, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting.
She had to make her get up and eat. So she couldn't even get herself out of bed. Ursula was like, Annalise, you got to get up. We got to go eat. So Ursula was really worried about Annalise. And so one night she made her get up and she was just like, we're getting you up. We were going to a dance. Because I don't think Ursula really knew anything that was going on. She just thought Annalise was depressed. And it was
Did she think she was a poor, unfortunate soul? Did she happen to think?
She
Okay,
did,
cool.
in fact.
Thanks.
Yes. Yeah. So it was at this dance that Annalise met a boy named Peter. After she met Peter, she seemed to perk up as they began dating, but this good mood only lasted a short while. She hadn't told Peter about everything she was dealing with, but she tried to break up with him, saying that she struggled with depression, among other things, and that she just wasn't in a good place for a relationship. Peter wouldn't hear it and said that no matter what was going on, that they could get through it together. And to his credit, he did stay with her through her entire ordeal. Over time, she finally told him what was going on.
Peter was desperate.
It's John. Peter was a nice boy. Peter wasn't particularly religious when they first met, but after witnessing what she was dealing with over time, he did become convinced that she was in fact possessed by demons. In November of 1973, Peter drove Annalise to an appointment with a Freudian psychiatrist named Dr. Leonard. Dr. Leonard felt that Annalise was suffering from neuroses as a result of her strict religious upbringing, and that it was her parents that were making her feel bad about herself. Annalise was going to have none of it, though. She completely disagreed with him, stating she loved her parents, which is why she continued to go home every weekend to spend time with them and her sisters. And she also, at this point, saw another neurologist, Dr. Ergman Schlecht, who did another EED. Say that name 5 times fast.
There's so many names.
I know.
A lot of names.
So many doctors, right?
Mm-hmm.
He noted some irregular patterns on her EEG and specifically in her left temporal lobe. He took her off the Dilantin and prescribed her Tegretol, which was a stronger anticonvulsant. Father Alt also continued to meet with Annalise, praying and blessing her at the end of each visit. So a lot has been going on. A lot of time has passed. The group of priests, continued to get together and discuss her case because they were just really fascinated with Annalise and trying to figure out what was going on. So sorry. Demons. They were trying to figure out if she truly was possessed.
We need to take you to a cough specialist. You need to go to a cough specialist right now. And we're going to put you on a specific antipsychotic for people who cough.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh
there it is. Oh, God. We need an old Presidium priest down here.
Stop. Don't make me laugh. All right. So on September 16th, 1974, Father Alt got a phone call from the one and only Thea Hine, complaining and questioning him about why they still hadn't performed an exorcism on Annalise. He told her that she seemed fine in their meetings and that, in fact, she seemed to be doing better and that Annalise herself had not requested an exorcism. The very next day, coincidentally, Father Alt now gets a phone call from Annalise, where she told him she was still feeling tortured and suffering and that she wanted an exorcism.
Can you request an exorcism?
You can request it. Doesn't mean they're going to do it.
Can you order it?
No.
Can you DoorDash an exorcism?
Wouldn't that be great? But no, sadly, I don't.
Uber exorcisms? Yeah.
Yeah, someone will come up with it after watching this.
Copyright.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but copyright it. And you have to do this with your hands, apparently. Copyright.
Really?
God.
All right. So now Father Alt wrote another letter to the bishop, this time requesting permission to perform a solemn or major exorcism. So there are two types of exorcisms. There's the major and the minor. A minor exorcism, if you've been baptized, you've had a minor exorcism. That is what that is. It's removing original sin from you. So it's exorcising original sin. Also, when a priest turns or a deacon turns water into holy water, that is a form of exorcism as well. So those are minor exorcisms, or like a blessing, can be a minor exorcism. A major exorcism is kind of what we all think of when we think of exorcism. So he was requesting to be able to do a major exorcism while Annaliese was in the midst of one of her episodes. He felt that if he was able to do this, that if any demon was in there, it would be expelled. The bishop denied his request. After this, Annaliese began to withdraw from everyone, including Peter. She started hanging out with a group of girls who could be described as zealous in their extreme religious beliefs. They felt the modernization of the church, now this point is important, the modernization of the church would be its undoing, and they even went so far as to protest at churches where they didn't perform the service in Latin. For several months, her friendship with these girls seemed to help Annaliese a bit. However, in the spring of 1975, she began to withdraw again. Did you have something you want to say?
The church is so modern.
So modern.
It's the most modern.
Well, this was a time where they were kind of starting to perform more services in German, because remember, they were in Germany, as opposed to Latin, so that people could understand it.
Right.
So that was no bueno to these girls.
God forbid we understand when we're listening to a church.
Exactly. Yeah. Can't have any of that. So she went back to her family doctor, who sent her back to her neurologist, Dr. Schlecht. He saw no changes in her, and so he didn't change her medication. It was after this point that Annaliese began to have an aversion to religious objects. She would go so far as to remove or destroy them if she saw them. She could no longer attend mass. She stopped eating. She also began to walk strangely, as if she were walking on stilts, saying her knees were stiff. In the summer of 1975, Annaliese tells Father Alt she just can't take it anymore. He started to perform a blessing on her, and she seemed to go cold. He silently prayed the prayer of exorcism. So remember, he hadn't been given permission to perform the rite on her, but he's like kind of silently praying, doing it in his mind. So she doesn't know that he's doing this, but she reacted. She didn't know he was doing it. She reacted. She jolted upright, came at him, grabbed his rosary, and ripped it apart. She was again brought to Dr. Schlecht, who said there was evidence of focus in her left temporal lobe. So there was evidence of focus would be like excessive activity in her left temporal lobe.
Was it a tumor?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, cool.
No, her autopsy actually showed that her brain was perfectly normal, which is really weird.
Neat.
Yeah. So she went home after this. She began to eat a little, but she couldn't pray because it physically hurt her to do so. At this time, Father Roth came to visit and claimed that he too could smell the burning fecal odor. Her father, Joseph, also reported that Annaliese had known Father Roth was coming to visit even before anyone had told her. So she had this not pre-knowledge that he was coming.
Time out, hold on. What if the house just really smelled like shit?
Yeah.
What if the house just smelled bad?
I think if anything, it would have been her, because it wasn't every time she was at the house. It was like,
so what if she just really was a stank ass hoe, and she just, here comes Annaliese.
This poor
possessed
girl.
by the devil.
No, she's not stanky. I don't know. Well, not yet. I'm sure at some point she did get pretty stinky, but not yet. Not yet. She's still bathing and doing all this, just not eating.
Like dead rodent in the crawl space or something.
Maybe. I don't know. No, but I mean, people, that's the thing that's weird, is like a lot of this you might be able to explain away, but some of the things you're kind of like, well, how did everybody else start having some of these experiences?
Right.
So Father Roth came to visit. When he got there, she came at him, yelling at him to stop tormenting her, and she tore up his rosary. She then threw a 5-gallon vat of holy water at him. Now, I don't know about you, but like my brain went, why do they have a 5-gallon vat of holy water at the house? But apparently, I mean, they were very religious, so maybe they just, maybe with everything going on with her, they're like, we better buy this in bulk. Like, just get it.
The coffee.
The Costco size holy water.
Yes. Poor thing. But the fact that she could throw a 5-gallon vat of holy water is pretty impressive.
Is 5-gallon like the Poland Springs like water jugs? Is that
know. Is it? But remember, she hadn't really been eating much. So like
explain to me what 5-gallon, how I need to know. Somebody tell me how big 5 gallons is.
3 gallons or 5 gallons and 3 gallons of milk. Good math.
Lynn went to college.
Sure did. So speaking of college, she now went back to college where Peter reported seeing her react to a cross, staring at it for an hour while gnashing her teeth. She was brought back home to her parents' house. Father Roth and Father Alt both now believed she was possessed. Her parents begged for an exorcism. Father Alt wrote yet again to the bishop, who granted the minor rite of exorcism, but not yet the major. During this rite, Annaliese complained that it was burning her. After this, she got worse. Day and night, she would constantly run around the house, performing about 600 genuflex a day. And now genuflex, if anybody doesn't know what those are like, you get down on your knees, you get down like you're laying on the cross. It's a lot. There's
burpees.
A lot.
She did a lot of burpees. She was just running around the house doing 600 burpees a day.
600, yes.
She was jaked, kid.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's crazy. Her knees got bloody and swollen. Even after she ruptured the ligaments in her knees, she still continued doing this. At one point, Peter reported seeing her squeeze an apple with one hand, crushing it. On another occasion, she picked up her younger sister and just threw her across the room.
She was on steroids.
Yeah. She stopped eating food and began to eat flies and spiders and chewed on coal. This is where it gets a little bit graphic. I'm sorry. She would also chew on her urine-soaked underwear or urinate on the floor and then lick it up. Yeah.
Chewing on underwear in general. Just
yeah. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. She became extremely violent, biting, hitting, or kicking anyone who came near her. Her family reported that swarms of flies would suddenly appear around her, and they would sometimes see shadow creatures dart near her. Annaliese also began to report that she was seeing family members who had passed away. Her mother stated that one morning she came into Annaliese's room where she found her praying, and her feet were swollen, and she saw stigmata on Annaliese's feet, and would later appear on her hands. So if anyone doesn't know what stigmata is, those are supposed to be the wounds of Christ. So in the hands and the feet. Now she came in the morning. So, okay. I'll get into that later. Remind me about that later, what I think that might be. Okay. So during all of this, Father Rodvik, remember, he's the one who was the exorcism expert, came for a visit where he asked Annaliese what her name was. She responded with Judas. At this point, he believed she was possessed by Judas in his demonic form. So one thing that a lot of priests especially those who believe in exorcism, because they don't all, is that if a demon gives you his name or her name or their name, that you know something is going on. I don't know why, but that's kind of the thing. But anyways, Annaliese complained to her parents about how difficult it was for her to get an exorcism. She actually really wanted an exorcism. All of the priests then got together and felt that after Father Rodvik's encounter that the bishop would have to grant a major exorcism, which he did. They all agreed.
Sorry, I just picture her like the girl from Willy Wonka. It's like, I want an exorcism now, Daddy.
No, Daddy, now. Yeah, I know. Poor thing. She's been through so much, this thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. So he granted the major exorcism. All of the priests agreed that this was probably going to take multiple exorcisms to accomplish. And because Father Alt, who had been meeting with her all along, he lived too far away to come frequently, they asked another priest, Father Rentz, if he would do the exorcisms. Over the next 10 months, following the bishop's approval of Annaliese's exorcism, Alt and Renz, because Alt would come for some of them, Alt and Renz conducted 67 exorcisms, lasting up to 4 hours each, on the young woman. Through these sessions, Annaliese revealed that she believed she was possessed by 6 demons: Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, Adolf Hitler, Nero, and Pastor Fleischmann, who was a disgraced priest.
Breaking out the big guns there. Is Hitler a demon?
Right, which I was like surprised. I mean, like even Lucifer's not a demon, but like none of them are demons, which is really interesting that they refer to them as demons. But okay,
she's possessed by a bunch of bad guys.
Yes, exactly. Okay. All of these spirits would jostle for power of Annaliese's body and would communicate from her mouth with a low growl. And I do have a recording. They did record a lot of her exorcisms. I think they recorded up to 40 of them. I'm going to play some of it for you in a little bit. It is very disturbing. Her voice is, it's what you would imagine an exorcism to sound like. The demons argued with each other, with Hitler saying, "People are stupid as pigs. They think it's all over after death. It goes on." And Judas saying Hitler was nothing but a big mouth who had no real say in hell. So the demons were arguing with each other. Throughout these sessions, Annaliese would frequently talk about dying to atone for the wayward youth of the day and the apostate priests of the modern church. And even the demons, you can go and see some of the scripts, not scripts, transcripts.
Yeah. Manuscripts?
Yes.
Nope.
Nope. Mm-hmm. You could see like some of the things she was saying, and it's really interesting. She talks a lot about the modernization, the demons talk a lot about the modernization of the church and how this was great for them. They were all for this. So that's why I said before, where she was hanging out with that group of girls who was having an issue with modernization of the church, that I think has something to do with this, right? Because is it the demons really saying it, or is it Annaliese saying it? We don't know. So during these exorcisms, they were brutal. She broke bones, ripped tendons in her knees from continuously kneeling in prayer. Over these 10 months, Annaliese was frequently restrained so the priests could conduct exorcism rites. I mean, she was just like trying to bite everyone and anyone who came near her, really. And they had to hold her down. She slowly stopped eating. Towards the end, Annaliese reported that the Virgin Mary had come to her to let her know that all of her suffering was not in vain, that she was going through this so that other souls would be helped, and that in the end, she would be sainted for it. Annaliese also stated that both Mary and the demons had told her this would all come to an end in July of 1976. And in fact, it did. Annaliese was found dead in her bed on the morning of July 1st, 1976. Her autopsy showed that she died of malnutrition and dehydration, because remember, she refused to eat anything. It also reported that her brain showed no signs of epilepsy, not even on a microscopic level. After her death, Annaliese's story became a national sensation in Germany after her parents and the two priests, so Father Alt and Father Renz, who conducted the exorcism, were charged with negligent homicide. They came before the court and even used a recording of the exorcism to try to justify their actions. What I kind of found a little weird is that her father Joseph asked the judge if they could say a prayer, because this was about possession, if they could say a prayer before the proceedings. Judge was like, "No, sir, sorry. This is a court. No prayer will be had." It was a little strange, but so they did try to use the recording of the exorcism to try to justify their actions and show, like, look, she really is possessed, or she was possessed. The two priests were found guilty of manslaughter resulting from negligence and were sentenced to 6 months in jail, which was later suspended. And they also got 3 years of probation. They also had to pay some fines as well. The parents were exempt from, who also, by the way, they were found guilty. The parents were also found guilty of negligent homicide, but they were exempt from any punishment, as there was this weird German loophole, I guess, at the time, where basically the judge felt they had already suffered enough. I mean, their daughter had died. They'd already suffered enough from this, so they didn't have to serve any time either. So that is the story of Annaliese Michel. Now, I'm going to warn everybody here. I'm going to show you some pictures, and I'm going to play the audio for you. They are very graphic. They are disturbing. So if you don't want to see it, go away for 5-10 minutes.
I'm also probably going to make fun of it. So if you get offended about me making fun of people who are going through terrible things,
I don't know that you will. You might be like, holy mother.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. So
I make jokes when I'm uncomfortable. It's what I do best.
Okay. We will all keep that in mind. Okay. So let me hold on. Let me pull up let me get I think I'll do maybe I'll just do the pictures first.
Nice pictures.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm so ready. I'm not prepared for this at all. I know nothing about it, so I'm ready.
Okay, so this is the family here. Keep in mind, these are old pictures.
Oh, look at those
these are her
bangs.
parents. This right here, this is Annaliese on the far left, the tallest
Right.
daughter. These are her 3 younger sisters. Okay, so that's what she looked like when she was a
It's a
teenager.
good-looking family.
Right?
So cute.
Yes, this is Annaliese. I believe this was her first communion, so this was when she was a little girl. She's a beautiful girl.
Those gloves, though. Damn.
I know, right? Fancy.
Oh,
This was Annaliese when she was in college.
okay, she's kind of a smoke show. I'm gonna say it.
Right?
She's kind of a smoke show.
She is beautiful. Okay, this is where the pictures get a little disturbing, guys. So this is the part, like this is what happened to her when during the exorcisms. What I failed to mention is she repeatedly just
she hurt herself
brutally hurt. Yeah, she would bang her face against walls, the floor. She started chewing on the walls. Her teeth broke. She had black eyes. One from like not eating, malnutrition, but she was just.
It's a hot mess.
She was. Oh my gosh, it's horrible. Okay,
she was like early 20s Caitlin on a Saturday night. That's what she looked like.
I hope not. So this is Annaliese before. This is Annaliese during some of the exorcism.
She kind of looks like she's in a metal band. Like really, like a super metal band. That's rough, dude.
These are not the bad ones. These are not the bad ones.
I'm ready.
Okay, so the next one, this is during, so this is where she's still trying to pray. There's a pillow. This is her mom helping her down. At this point, it's kind of hard to see it, but her whole face right here is swollen because she had hit her face so hard. I think it was on the floor that her whole face was bruised. Her cheek was like, she probably broke her cheek. It was pretty horrible. And then I apologize for this next one. This was before she passed away. She was wasted down to about 66 pounds. You can see her teeth are broken. She was just, it was horrible. Now this, no, we don't need
click to add title.
No, thank you.
Scary.
To add, yes, the defendants. That's the title. So these are her parents, Joseph and Anna, and these are the 2 priests. The older one is Father Rentz, and the younger one is Father Alt.
Everyone looking real innocent in that photo. BT dubs, all looking like they've done nothing.
Yeah,
just wow.
I like that the dad is just staring right at the camera. He's just like,
he's mean mugging the camera. The old priest looks like the Frankenberry guy. Doesn't he? Kind of look like he looks a little bit. The young priest looks like the bad guy, the bad doctor in every psychological movie. He just needs the little round glasses.
Dr. X,
yeah. Or he looks like a bad guy in Doctor Who, not Doctor Who. Doctor. Oh, what's the guy that travels around in the TARDIS?
That's Doctor Who.
Okay. I'm losing my mind. Okay.
You're right. You're right the first time.
Okay. So he's the one who felt he was psychic. There's a lot more to this. Like I said, if you and so Jim Goodall hasn't aged to date. It does kind of look like Jim. You're right. That's hilarious. So it's Stephanie Harlow. Like I said, she did an amazing job. She did like a 3-part series on this. She goes into some interesting stuff about Dr. Alt or Father Alt. About some of the his psychic powers, which are really interesting. So he's an interesting character, but so this is the crew here. So these were the ones they were the ones that were found guilty of negligent homicide.
All of them? No, just the priests.
No, all 4 of them. Yeah, but the parents were exempt from serving a punishment because they felt they'd already been punished enough because their daughter died. So I know. All right, I am gonna play some of the audio.
I hope it's a Dave Hurley remix though. We remixed the audio with a Dave Hurley song.
He also sounds like she could sing in a metal band. So.
I'm ready.
Horrible human being.
Yeah, Lynn. Hello. Have you met me?
Right.
You don't keep me around because I'm nice.
Oh my God. Okay. Let's see. Let me get this up. So again, like I said, this is really disturbing, guys. So just a warning.
Very ready.
Where is it? Hold on a second.
Demon down here pawing at me.
I think it's this one. Yeah. Okay.
Lulu is
okay. Can you guys see that? Okay.
again.
Okay,
I'm the important one.
All right, I'm gonna mute. I think I gotta mute us. So hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it. I'm really into it. I love it so much, and I kind of want to learn how to make those noises.
Keep in mind, she'd been doing this for 10 months, so it's probably just really hoarse.
She's just raspy because they didn't send her to the throat.
The
raspy voice specialist.
She didn't go to was the throat doctor.
She needed to go to the raspy voice specialist to take care of her nas and her yes.
Yeah. Poor thing.
I feel terrible, but I can't. I'm here for the jokes.
I know. Yeah.
But seriously, she does sound like she'd be in a metal band. It's pretty sweet. Dave, I would pee my pants if you put guitar riffs behind that. I would pee my pants if you just literally wrote some sick guitar for that.
Speaking of demons.
Oh God.
Yeah.
There's a demon potato.
Speaking of burning fecal odors. Oh my goodness. So so it's a lot. It's a lot. So the question is, was she possessed? Was it something medical? Was it a combination of the two? Because clearly, I mean, she clearly had epilepsy, right? She was having seizures. We know she has epilepsy. Temporal lobe epilepsy. One of the kind of trademarks of temporal lobe epilepsy is smelling horrible smells. Specifically, a lot of times burning rubber is one of the like common ones. So like smelling burning fecal odor would go along with that, but other people were smelling it too.
Right, but is that one of those things where like, what's it called? Psychosomatic?
No, we're going with the shared hallucination kind of theory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you want to, I mean, they're all massively religious, so they're already like in that.
Although,
sorry, in that kind of mindset, anyways.
Yeah,
but
that's true. You're right. That actually, I think, does play a role into it. But.
Yeah. But I mean, so when they started smelling this stuff too, it's like I'd want to know how far in her process she was. I mean, she couldn't have been smelling like a rose, you know.
Pretty early on, they were starting to smell it. Before the exorcisms, well before the exorcism.
Like I said,
our suggestion, all kinds of stuff there. So
yeah,
I'm going to be, you know me, I'm the naysayer.
I know.
Father Dave is the naysayer.
Yes,
I like it.
Yep. So I think, and one of the other things that I was looking into too. So this one really, like, one of the reasons I love this is because when I first graduated, I worked for Harvard Med School, and we did antipsychotic research, right? And I worked with patients who had schizophrenia. And so I worked with people who had psychosis, and a lot of the stuff that she's doing is wouldn't be that unusual for someone in the midst of untreated psychosis, right? However, she was supposedly, as long as she was taking them, she was on antipsychotic medication. Now, that doesn't mean that it was working. However, antipsychotic medication is a fickle thing. Sometimes you have to try quite a few of them before you find one that really works for you. So,
well, they were like popping her on like a whole plethora of meds too. So she was on just like a whole menagerie of meds, which sounds like it.
Actually,
yes. So I got curious and I said, okay, she's on a lot of anti-epileptic drugs. Can those drugs, is one of those side effects psychosis? And in fact, there is such a thing as anti-epileptic drug-induced psychosis. So Integritol, which is the one we know she was on towards the end, is one of those. Dilantin it's not as common. In rare cases, it can cause psychosis. Now, we don't know really what the first two were, the first two anticonvulsant drugs that she was on. Like, I think the first one, the record was smudged, so they couldn't read what the name of the drug was. And the second one, I don't know if they don't have the records for that or not. But so we don't know what the first two was. But it's very common that, they have a whole condition, anticonvulsant or anti-epileptic drug-induced psychosis. They have a thing for it. Like, it's that common, so, or that possible. So
Right.
To me, I find it interesting. So I went back and I looked and I was like, when did she start seeing the frotzen? And it was after she started the anticonvulsant medication. So when she started seeing the devil faces, right? Now, this is not saying that that's the case, because epilepsy can also like bring on psychosis as well in certain individuals. So it's very possible this was all simply the epilepsy, but she was on so many and so much like anticonvulsant medication. Now, one could argue maybe she was under medicated, that she wasn't at therapeutic levels, but she was on so much of it. Like, I would find it hard to believe that there would be no effect whatsoever. And we know most of her seizures did stop after she went on the Tegretol. Most of the seizures stopped. So
Right.
I'm going to argue that I think it was the medication that was causing the psychosis.
So you think it was psychosis? You don't think she was possessed?
I do think it was psychosis. However, I do think there are some weird things that we can't explain, like
Right.
the shared, whether they were shared hallucinations. I don't buy that. I'm not a fan of that one. Yeah, it's possible maybe they were, because they were all very religious, that they.
You want to believe.
Right.
Again, we're X-Files. We're back to X-Files, where I want to be like Mulder and Scully, and I want to believe. Well, it's that thing too, where it's like, it's the same. Religion is very much so similar in that matter, where, it's like those really ultra Christian churches where they speak in tongues, right?
Yeah. True.
And you kind of speak in tongues because you do it because, like, and I've seen and watched a lot of videos of people talking about it. And when they were younger, they do it because they think they have to do it because they are like, they want to do what everyone else is doing. Right. And so it's just this, like,
you don't want to be the one not doing it.
I don't know what this is, but it's like this.
Yeah.
And like, so point. Done.
Right.
Okay.
But now, so that can so the psychosis, whether it's drug induced, epileptic, whatever it might be, let's say it's psychosis, right? That can explain away a lot of her behavior. Some of the other things, there was a lot. Like I condensed this way down. She was sitting under the table, like barking like a dog for days. She was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And so a lot of that can be explained by psychosis. Like I said, I worked with people, like when they were doing these drug trials, they had to go off of all of their antipsychotic meds because you need to see if it's going to work, right? You need a baseline. So they were on a locked unit. So you go on the locked unit. It's a lot of that. You're seeing all kinds of craziness, right? And so I could see psychosis, and it does look very kind of eerie if you're not used to it. It is disconcerting to see someone in the psychosis acting like that. It's not, what you're used to seeing a person acting like. So it is very scary looking if you don't understand what it is. But I just totally lost my train of thought because I saw Chris's comment.
His comment is very cute, but also Enzo makes a point where he says, could the mention early on of doing an exorcism have implanted the idea in her head? Which,
well, keep in mind, it was a very religious family.
So she already knew about it, but then so you're already religious and you already understand that that's a concept. And then someone says it's a possession. Like, you're going to go, yeah, it is. I am possessed. And then you go, and you punch yourself in the face 1,000 times.
Well, here's the other thing, though, about epilepsy is it can also cause hyperreligiosity. So there is a syndrome, I think it's called like Gershaw's syndrome or something like that. But they used to think that, I know it's a big word. They used to think that, I should take that back. They used to think that epilepsy caused hyperreligiosity, but that's not actually the case. It can obsessive compulsive disorder can also come into play when it comes to epilepsy. And they noticed that back, especially around the time when Annaliese had it, there was a lot more of this kind of like hyper religious focus of people who had epilepsy. Nowadays, there's not so much. And I read several different studies on why that is. And because part of the theory is that treatment centers back in the day, a lot of them were, like religious hospitals. Religion was much more prevalent. It was everybody, that was kind of the norm, right? Whereas now treatment centers are very secular. You don't have that religious influence in it. And so they think that that's why now they don't see this hyper religious focus in people with epilepsy who kind of have that obsessive compulsive tendency. So it is very possible Annaliese grew up in a very religious household. The town she lived in was hyper religious. She went to a religious school. She went to a religious college. She was surrounded by it. So it's very possible that that was what was influencing her kind of hyper religious state of mind as well.
Interesting. I also agree. Angel Wings has said that meds make things worse. And I think in certain scenarios, like especially in the 70s where they were just literally throwing drugs down your throat. Like they're like, oh, you're pregnant? Here's some drugs. Oh, you have this? Take this. Drink some alcohol on top of it, right? So like it wasn't quite honed in as much as it is now.
Drugs that powerful. I mean, like if to just prescribe them, let her take them.
Well,
like
they
that.
did.
That the drug you looked at, it had a whole laundry list of symptoms.
They still use Tegretol today.
Well,
it's still in use.
But
she had about
they were
on that list.
Yeah, they were like, let's take a scan of your brain. Cool, here you go, right? Yeah. And not really. There was no like, she didn't really do psychotherapy, right? Like at all. That wasn't a thing.
Well, no, she met with the Freudian psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's not.
She did see him. She did see him more than just the one visit. But yeah, no, she wasn't like, it wasn't like today where you would be in therapy, like along with everything else that you're doing. Dorothy had a quick question. Was she tested for these things? Yeah, she had quite a few EEGs. Some were normal. Most were normal. Some showed some slight abnormalities in the temporal lobe, which is why. I'd
like to explore that more too. Like just to say slight abnormalities, but nothing to really worry about. I mean,
well, because the first one that showed some slight abnormalities was when she was in her early 20s. She was 20, and she had some increased theta waves. And that's not uncommon in people who are kids, teens, and in their early 20s. And so that's why I said, like, yes, it's considered slightly abnormal, but it's also fairly normal for her age group. So it wasn't anything to really like worry about. There wasn't like evidence of seizures or anything that was just like, yes, she's got a seizure on this EEG right here.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. So what do you think? What do you think? Do you think, I know you kind of like geared towards, you think it was not legit plus some unexplainable things. Dave, we know what you think, Father Dave. We know. But no, seriously, Dave, what are your thoughts on it? Like, do you think that any of it was possibly more than her making shit up?
No. I mean, in this case, I'm thinking that it was psychosis. Thinking she had some problems and it progressed and led into that. Of course, her having the religious background and the religious parents and all that stuff is going to sort of feed into that. And some of the other stuff that happened in the story, she always was able to pull herself up by her bootstraps and do well in school. That was one of the things, right?
Yeah, she always did well in school.
So the demons,
she did go to college.
Yeah, one of the things in the story was that the demons kept saying they wanted to keep her from doing well in school.
Yeah.
Which was the other girl that was talking about the story was kind of funny because it's like, that's your master plan is
to keep her from doing
you're gonna fail a class.
She was always able
what
basically snap out of it, even if just for 6 hours to write her thesis.
Yeah, she finished her college thesis in 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. And then
wow.
In the midst of while she was going through her exorcisms, they got her an extension because the school, like the dean called her parents and was like, she missed her, because the dean kind of knew what was going on. But keep in mind, this was a religious school and the bishop was basically his boss. And he was like, Annaliese missed the deadline for her thesis. And unless you can get me a doctor's note, I can't give her an extension. So Father Alt did get her a doctor's note. And she found this out and she literally was like, okay, and got up and wrote her thesis, or at least was able to give them an outline. Now, keep in mind, she's highly malnourished at this point. she can't get up and write it herself, but she was able to give Peter and I think one of her sisters enough of an outline where they could write up the thesis for her.
Also,
so basically Peter did her homework.
Yeah.
But time out for a second. She literally got to call out exorcised or call out possessed. She got to call out possessed. I got a possession extension. I was possessed.
At this point, she was dying. Like she was very malnourished. But yeah, so that there are some really weird things. Yes,
the demons were trying to keep her from eating, right? Except they wanted to keep her strength up for school.
When she had a test, she was allowed.
That's where the flies came in.
That's what she said. Like she was hungry. She wanted to eat. But the demons were keeping her from it, but they said she will be allowed to eat when she has a test. So a lot of this was like around her school. So the question is, why were like demons so worried about
No. My opinion has just changed. My opinion has just changed because nowhere in the nowhere is the demon going to be like, well, we don't want you to do good in school, but we're going to let you finish your thesis and you can eat when you have homework. You need a little snacky for your homework?
A little juice box.
Well, okay. Now, okay.
Lunchables. She gets a Lunchables.
Here's the other side of the argument, right? Some people theorize that, the demons, some priests will say that, and I think it was Father, whatever his name was, the guy who was the exorcist.
Oh, I love Father whatever his name is. My favorite one in the whole story.
There's so many priests involved with this. So the guy who was the exorcist specialist, at one point, one of the priests was like, I don't know if she can continue doing that. Like, I don't know if she can physically handle doing more of these exorcisms. And he was just like, it's highly unlikely she's going to die. Like, there's never been a recorded death from exorcism. I think she'll be okay. Like, I think we need to continue on with this. So Chris has a question. How smart was she? She was actually very intelligent. She was very intelligent. Back in the 50s, what they reported was back in the 50s, at that point in time in the small town in Germany where she was, only girls who were kind of exceptional were able to go to college. And she got into college and she ended up, she did get her thesis in. She did, I guess she would have graduated, we should say. But yeah, she is very smart. So we can give her that. Like she may be just one of those people that was just kind of like, okay, here you go. And she can give it to you. But I mean, it's a bit much, but there are some weird things, right? Like the knocking. Okay, so can we say, oh, maybe she was the one knocking and that's what her sisters heard? Possible.
Again, I go with that whole mutual whatever.
Well, she wasn't I know what you're talking about, like mass hallucination, like mass psychosis. Yeah. I think she had her own room, so it's very possible she was just like boom, boom, boom on the walls.
She's literally in there playing drums on the walls and doing beats. She's like, do you guys hear that? That's crazy.
No, this was before she was chewing on the walls. This was kind of towards the beginning.
Ugh.
I know. The thought of it is just horrific.
But I mean, if you're truly psychotic, you can't really just snap yourself out of it.
No, you can't. And that's what makes me question it.
Well, that's what I was going to say is it's not, it might not even be psychosis. It's more of I think she wanted to be a martyr. In fact, the whole thing wrapped up in terms of.
So you think she's doing it for attention, basically?
Deep thoughts.
Coupled together with, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist.
What? That's a lot. That's a lot to go through.
But hang on. The whole thing ended and wrapped up just like she wanted. It's not that she died from
dying.
Yeah, it's not that she died from the exorcism. She died from not eating.
Right.
And not drinking.
That's usually what happens though in a lot of exorcisms.
It was self.
They have doctors on call now.
But
good.
One of the symptoms of that drug she was on was tightening of the
of the throat. You can have some issues swallowing. Yeah.
Swallowing and things like that, which. Yeah, I'm just saying there's a lot of, it's a perfect storm of things, but
that's what makes this case so fascinating. Yeah, it's not cut and dry.
But it feeds into if you've already got some issues going on, everything else happening feeds into that. You know what I mean? And I think there was a certain portion of it, not totally, but a certain portion of it, she was concocting in her mind and concocting this whole sort of story. She snap out of it for school, really? No, that doesn't wash with me.
I don't know.
Some of it, yeah. I mean, that part of it sounds very purposeful to me, you know.
Okay.
And then it's possible to get so wrapped up, and especially if you've already got other issues going on, so wrapped up and so focused and so I've seen it myself, you know, people get obsessed and crazy over things, and
What?
it goes on today. I mean, people are crazy about things today, you know, just compulsive.
but not like
People today, Father Dave. People today.
There are people that get in their own way and hurt themselves and do all kinds of things.
They're not chewing on their urine underwear though.
You know what?
I'm not saying she didn't have mental problems, but I'm saying that she was
forgot
with
about
it
the
enough.
underwear.
She was with it enough to pull herself
and
together.
licking the pee off the floor.
Can
and
we
eating
call
flies
them?
with
Can we
spiders.
not
Maybe.
use the term urinate?
Ozzy
Urinate? How did you say it? Urinate?
Your urine underwear.
Oh, hate it.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Ozzy peed and licked it up.
Yes.
Yeah, but Ozzy was high on cocaine, wasn't he?
Yes, but she was on all kinds of drugs, and she.
Can we not say high on cocaine because it makes you sound? He was high on the cocaine.
High on the cocaine. But Ozzy was also he was a character when he was in that state. You know what I mean? And she's a character when she's in that state.
Yeah, but Ozzy, she did it literally to death, though.
Well, Ozzy wasn't that far from killing.
I can't believe that man's still alive. How is that man still alive? Side note.
But
that's just
if you want to talk about somebody who's possessed, it's got to be
Ozzy's still alive.
He snorted ants, right?
I know.
So
I know.
I'm just saying.
I know he did a lot of weird things.
It's possible to be that wrapped up in character, basically, especially if you've got some other things going on. Okay.
Counter to your argument, however, though, because if she was that kind of psychotic from the medication, which she would have to be psychotic from the medications in order to be, you're not going to just get high from those kinds of medications like that, to the point where Ozzy was. She'd have to be like psychosis, right? No, I totally just lost my train of thought.
Well, I know what you're getting at.
I was really very heavily involved into what a marital dispute is like in Dave and Lynn's home. It's because it's not like a normal, like, you didn't take the trash out. It's like, she wasn't possessed. She was possessed. It was psychosis. And it's like that. That's where I was like this. Tell me.
We're not disputing.
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I'm just going to say, I think what I was going to say was that I don't think she did it purposefully. And I don't think that it was because she was high. I think she had to have been either psychotic or possessed.
What if it's both?
It could be both. It could be both.
Or what if it's like Carl, the demonologist, who thinks we manufacture, like we
gotta bring Carl every time. Bring Carl up.
We create these demons. It's even he's dealing with his own demons, that kind of thing. We create a lot of our own problems.
We do. I disagree that I don't think she did this willfully.
Well, yeah, maybe not willfully, because like I said, I do think she had other issues. Definitely, she got some issues going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I completely agree that if you're either psychotic or you're not, and you can't really just like sort of pull yourself out of it.
Not that quickly.
Right.
You can have moments of psychosis.
Not to write a thesis.
What?
Not to write a thesis.
No,
Can we talk about Peter? I want to talk about Peter.
Okay, talk about Peter. Yes.
What kind of shit was that man into to stick around that whole time? Do you think he saw her gnarring on those
panties,
urine underwear, and was like, "This is my girl"?
He was with her for several years at this point.
Finally.
I went through it quickly. He was with her for,
I don't care how long I'm with somebody, but if they start pissing their pants and chewing on their undies, I'm out. It's not for me. Unless
coal. She was chewing on coal too, don't forget.
And I can take coal, but I can't take pee-pee pants. I can't take pee-pee pants. I'm not chewing.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's like, he was either the nicest dude in the world.
Peter deserves a sainthood.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird one.
Well, before she sort of, in a way predicted her own death. And
yes, that was one. Thank you.
But before she
did predict her own death.
But before she did, she mentioned to what was her mom or dad or something that she was meant to absolve everybody of their sins, or she was.
Well,
she
yeah,
wanted
she
to
was
be,
like helping other souls,
like,
basically. She
sainthood,
was
'cause-
suffering for others. No, Mary, she told her that the Virgin Mary told her she would be sainted.
sainted. Yes.
Yes.
But she never got sainted. So the Virgin Mary is a lying.
Right.
What a liar.
Not okay.
Yeah.
And more to the story, it doesn't end when she dies, by the way, because they're in the middle of kind of everything. There's a Carmelite nun who says she had a vision that Annaliese came to her and told her that she was in fact sainted in heaven. And so she had said, and this goes along with the other, like the whole Padre Pio, Father Pio story. But she said, if you exhume her, and it had been 2 years at this point, if you exhume her and she truly was sainted, she won't have decomposed. So the parents somehow got permission to exhume her.
You know, they just dug her up.
They had it done. There's pictures of it. What they claimed was because of what happened, she was buried in a like really cheap coffin, and they did put her in a different coffin, and this was kind of like their reason for being able to dig her up is like, we want to put her in a better coffin. But they were supposed to be able to see her, like to see if she really had decomposed at all or not. She was brought to the morgue, and they weren't allowed in. According to them, they weren't allowed to see her. But the person who was there claimed she had decomposed at the normal rate that she should have after 2 years. Yeah. But they never saw her, so they don't know.
So also the Carmel Delight nun lied. I don't know what the word you said was.
Carmelite nun,
Yes.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's just like a sect of Catholicism.
Well, there was who was the priest guy that was also smelling weird things, and then he supposedly was sainted.
Father Roth.
Yeah.
Oh no. Padre Pio. Padre Pio wasn't smelling. He was not. He died already. He wasn't like a part of this.
Well, okay.
He was too old for this shit.
Yeah, that's Padre Pio. So Padre Pio, one of the things about him, and he was sainted, and he supposedly performed like miracles, yada yada yada. But anyways, they did exhume him, and they said he hadn't decomposed, and he's actually on display. You can go and see him, and he looks like he is just laying there. However, the reality is they made a silicone mask of his face and put it on him. He had decomposed, but
the point is, it was a big deal, and he's on display. You can go see him, so it's
creepy.
He's kind of revered, and that's another thing that makes
he is sainted.
Yeah, I mean but that's the other. It's an honor, you know what I mean. That's the other thing that makes me think she was trying to sort of maybe inadvertently, not on purpose, whatever, but kind of it was implanted in her to be that, to become that, you know.
I think it is possible that she didn't do it to get attention, but maybe she did it to make sense of her suffering to her, you know, because the epilepsy was real. She was having seizures. Yeah. She clearly was going through some sort of like stuff, whatever it was, whether it was psychosis, whether it was the possession, we don't know. But like maybe believing that Mary was coming and talking to her, and we can't say she wasn't. We don't know for sure. We weren't in her head, right? But maybe that was her way of making sense of just a really like shitty situation. I don't know. That's possible. But
she made sense of it by
saying she was going to be sainted, that there was a point to
her.
Suffering.
All right. I get it. But weak.
But how did she know when her suffering was going to end? She said July of 1976.
You can go, right? Like when you're at that point in your life, like you're fighting to live, right? Like if you are that
I think it's the same thing as animals hanging on until they know their owners are okay, or hanging on until they know their loved one's okay.
So you think she's just like, June 30th, I am out tomorrow.
What's the date?
Yeah.
She's like, what's the date? July 1st?
I need
X's for eyes. That's what happened. Cartoon.
Yeah.
Dead.
But I mean, now she also did say before that the demons told her they were going to be leaving on October 31st. So everybody was very excited for October 31st. October 31st came. They did an exorcism. All was quiet. They thought the demons have left. And at the end, they were like, we're still here.
JK.
And they were like, just kidding. We're not leaving. We're not done with her yet.
Yeah, it was a trick. It was not the treat.
But then later she said, okay, Mary and the demons both said, that she was going to be done.
Mary and the Demons. Great band name.
Separately.
Great band name.
Mary and the Demons, yeah. Yeah. But the July 1st thing was weird. She also knew Father Roth was coming for that visit before anybody told her. She attacked Father Alt when he was silently doing the prayer of the minor, or I think he was praying the major rite of exorcism. I don't know which one. One of them. She attacked him and tore up his rosary. She didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, but he was sitting there like holding his rosary, so she doesn't necessarily.
Well, but he could have thought that she was just praying over him, but which he had done a million times before, or he was just praying over her.
Yeah, but you can chalk that up to coincidence, I think.
Of course you can. It's good.
You can chalk everything up to coincidence.
Exactly.
Dave. Come on, Father Dave. You know better than that. I'm gonna stop calling you Father Dave after this. I promise. It's just this one time. It gets real creepy if you like really think about it. But so I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I mean, this one's all new to you. Like, what do you think?
It's a good one, for damn sure. It's a good one. I don't necessarily believe, like, having, we've talked about a lot of exorcism stories in our day. And, like, just a lot of those things that make my brain go, what? Like, when they contort their whole bodies into, like, things like, none of those things really happened to her, right?
No, I mean, no.
She had, like...
She did have, but she was also having seizures, and that happens in a seizure.
Right.
So that can be explained. I will say her exorcisms were kind of weird. Like the very first one was like a Broadway freaking show. Like
I was gonna say how weird.
What?
Tell me more. I need to know how weird. I'm imagining like.
Okay. All the priests were there. Peter was there. I think one of her sisters was there. Her parents were there. Thea Hine was there. Of course, Thea Hine was there. She brought her husband.
That little picnic.
Why was Thea there?
Because Thea was like pressing for the exorcism all along. She was the one that was just kind of like, by the way, I think your daughter is possessed. Like she might have been like in their ear to like kind of start the like possession train rolling. But yeah, so Thea was there. So she, remember she called up Father Alt, like, excuse me, Father Alt, why has there not been an exorcism done? We'll take our business elsewhere if you can't do this. So like,
I'm going to the Church of Holy Saints of Christ across town.
Exactly. So of course Thea's going to be there. She's like, finally. And what sounds strange is that they were all kind of like getting in on it, like asking the demons questions at some point. Like they were just like having conversations with them, which, okay, like if you know anything about exorcisms and you've studied this at all, you absolutely are not going to be doing that. Absolutely not. In fact, unless you need to be in there, you're not going to be in there. I mean, there are priests that will be like fasting days before. You have to go to confession and just try to absolve all of your sins everything you can possibly think of. Like, it is not like that. It's not like, hey, let's sit down and have a conversation with the demons. Don't get me wrong. I would love that. I would be all over it. I would be like, let's talk. But that's not usually how it works. So That's weird. That's weird that they were just like having conversations with these people.
Well, they weren't really demons either. She was just like, oh, it's just, Judas.
She's like, bad guys off.
Judas and Hitler.
Cain, Nero.
Also, some of the language she used, this might mean nothing at all, but it caught my ear, and I found it interesting. So the Exorcist movie came out in 73, 74, somewhere around there, 73.
Yeah.
Whatever. All this stuff was going on. One of the words she kept using was "sow," and if you've seen The Exorcist, it's one of the phrases. "The sow is mine," she says, and I know, and I just heard the phrase, and it perked me up because I was like, when did The Exorcist come out? You know what I mean? Did it show in Germany? You know what I mean? Did it?
Right.
It's like to me, a lot of this stuff sounds like power suggestion to me, but. I don't know. It could be.
I just thought about how annoying it would be to be in the movie theater with a person who was possessed. Just like, I'd be really pissed if I was in the movie theater and they're back behind me going, you're like, ugh, shh. Like,
I gotta say, man, that audio is creepy.
It is really creepy, but it's not like something that somebody couldn't make their voice do,
Right.
especially if they have been doing it for days.
Right.
And that's the other portion of it. Like we've listened to, like even you and I in general have just like talked about this a lot. We've listened to a lot of weird audio. I've personally done that because I'm weird, as are we all. But it's not something like there's no two voices happening at once. There's no like.
They said that there was, but yeah, I haven't heard that yet.
It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like
there were times where she was like screaming and laughing at the same time, or like, which I mean, I think sounds like that would be possible. But I mean, from what I understand, like that might be possible to do that anyways, but you'd have to have a lot of vocal training.
You can, I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. There are the Peruvian throat singers that do it and stuff like that. It does take a lot of training. However, if you've been thrashing your throat for days and months and stuff like that,
10 months.
it is possible, especially when you're hoarse, your vocal cords to grow. What?
I'm sorry, the term thrashing your throat. Just I can't. I tried so hard.
That does it too. You see.
Stop.
So
behave. This girl died, you people.
She was thrashing her throat for too long.
Oh my God.
That's how I'm going to do it.
The coughing demon is back. Yes, and so yes, that's the only response you can have, right?
Right. By the way, mental health, yes, and she could sing on that album.
Yeah.
Mary.
Anyway, yeah, it's possible.
Mary and the Demons.
It's possible to do. But the one of the other things they measure, right, is speaking in tongues. I don't remember hearing her.
She did speak in Latin, but remember she was proficient in Latin.
Right.
So oh, here's the other thing. I forgot to mention this. Can't believe I forgot to mention it. Here's another weird one. Maybe. So Father Renz, so he noticed that the demons were speaking both German and Latin because they speak German, obviously. But he knew she took Latin, right? So he goes, okay, well, if these truly are demons, they've been around for a long time. They should be able to speak every language. And he worked over in China. So he spoke to them in, I don't know if it was Mandarin or what, some sort of Chinese language. And she responded. She responded in German, but she answered his questions. Now, I haven't read the transcript, so I don't know, was it a vague answer? But it was enough to convince him that she was understanding what he was saying in Chinese. And she was responding in German.
When did he say that? Was it to protect his ass in court?
I don't know.
Because that's significant.
Yeah.
If you're saying, oh yeah, she answered my questions to get out of, getting
I don't know.
slapped with a fine or prison time.
He was a man of God.
I know.
Lying in court.
But anyway, but it's still though, yeah, that if she answered vaguely, or if he's kind of consumed and in the moment too, maybe he thought she answered better than she did. There's all kinds of things. You just don't know. You don't know.
I know. But it is another one of those that you're kind of like, that's weird. But yeah,
weird.
She could have guessed and answered half gibberish anyway, as Enzo said. If he had, if he had answered in Mandalorian, now we're talking.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Enzo. She had answered in Mandarin, that would have been something like, yes, that's weird.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I mean. Like, there are certain aspects of it. Like, I'm not saying that something wasn't happening to her. Like, something clearly was happening to her, and it was horrible. And it was horrible. Yeah. But was it a possession?
I don't know. Weird one. But it's not clear cut. It could be any number of things, right? That's what makes this one so intriguing.
Okay. I want to poll. I know. I'm going to demand
now that we lost half, like
right,
2/3 of the people, but we'll do a poll.
I scared them out.
Nah, you're good.
So if your definition though of, I don't even know what I'm saying. Like, if you think if you think you're possessed and that's the way you were brought up and all that,
sorry, woo. Look, you can do two voices at once too.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
That is just not good.
Stop. Just keep going with your thoughts.
Tell me your thoughts, Dave. Come on, Father Dave. Confess.
There are no thoughts. Anyway, no, maybe there are people out there that would define that as a possession, but maybe, like I said, that some of it depends on, and I know the Catholic Church is very, very strict definitions, and they only perform exorcisms under very strict guidelines. And all
Now,
that stuff.
and part of that was because of her case.
Really?
Yeah, okay. So, but
Makes
for
sense.
the normal, you know,
There we go.
layperson or whatever,
Okay.
you know, you can look at somebody. You know, we even use it as a descriptive term now. You know, they were acting like they were possessed.
Right. Yeah.
But if you got some issues and you believe you're possessed,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you can go ahead and call it that. Maybe it doesn't quite mean what the Catholic Church is trying to say.
True.
I'll bet that.
But you know, but also, you know, we also use the phrase, you know, he's got some demons.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It just depends on how you want to define it.
Interesting so far. All right.
Mhm.
We've only got
How about
7
that?
minutes. We'll let it keep going, but let's just see what they say. Interesting.
I like
It's
that.
divided. It's divided certain
You know?
ways. But
The
here's the
masses.
possibility. Like we also I also can't go into it saying, well, she's definitely not possessed. Because that automatically you go in like you know with prejudgment, right? So if you go in like you have to go in kind of open-minded, I'm gonna look at it all from all perspectives. I do think a lot of it was medical. I do think I truly believe that it was medical, like medication-induced psychosis. But I do think there are some things that are weird. Like
I agree.
she picked her sister up, threw her across the room after she hadn't been eating. How's she doing that? She's picking up a 5-gallon vat of holy water, throwing it at the priest. She crushed an apple with one hand.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
I want to see you get one. I'm gonna try right now.
I can't even open a jar. Like, who do I think I am?
Yeah, I mean, she did do some really weird stuff. Like she had been, you know, starving herself and was emaciated. We saw her 66 pounds at the end, and they still had to hold her down because she was fighting against them so hard that 2 men had to hold her down. How is she doing that if she is that malnourished and that close?
It's the power of possession.
She had the
That's
power
what it
to Wednesday's nests.
It's the power of pee power.
Power.
That's her superpower. You chomp on your pee underwear, and then you can apparently pick up a 5-gallon jug of holy water.
Everywhere, Caitlin.
Urine. Yeah.
Let's see where-
Dislike. I just can't. I don't even. Just the idea of like gnawing on my underinos. Not interested.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, for real, gross. I don't know. I mean, it's weird. It's weird. How did she know the priest was coming? Father Roth.
That could have been, yeah, but how often was he going? Like, how often was he
coming?
visiting?
Very much. Father Alt was coming, but Father Roth didn't come as often. And Father Alt lived far away. So
every time we say Father Roth, my weird, like, submerged adult brain wants to call him Father Roth IRA because it's a Roth IRA. I don't even know what that is.
Tax deferred.
I watched a cross-legged, seated 4'10" girl toss a 6'2" guy across the room. She too was possessed by Hitler.
By the urine panties. Ew, I said the word panties.
But I do find it interesting that the demons were kind of like bagging on Hitler, and this is in the 50s, right after World War II.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I did find that interesting too.
And it's in. She's in. No, they weren't in Germany. They were in Germany.
Yeah, she was in Germany.
Yeah, you don't talk about Hitler in Germany. That's not like that's a no-no.
Oh no, this is after the war.
Yeah, you still. That's definitely you don't talk about Hitler in Germany.
They were saying he was kind of an idiot, is what she was saying. They were like, he's got a big mouth, but he doesn't say much.
Well,
My kind of guy.
Yeah. That, I mean, that would.
No, I
right?
take that back, internet. I take it back. Hitler is not my kind of guy.
No.
Jesus, Caitlin, get your shit together.
Great. I'll never have another show again.
I'll never have another job again, so it's totally fine.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. If anybody hasn't voted in the poll, vote and see what you think. Yeah, Nathan says you still don't talk about Hitler in Germany.
No, it didn't exist. That doesn't exist. You don't talk about it. We don't talk about Hitler.
Right. I mean, it's interesting, right? But like, I don't know.
Yeah. No.
It's
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a weird
It's an
one.
I don't know.
For the
I
most
go-
part, I'm like, it's medical, you know, one way or another, it's medical. But there are just there's few things that I'm kind of like, I don't know that I can explain all of it. So what are those?
I don't think you can, but you know, what in life can you explain all of?
Most things, it's like if it were like purely psychosis, I could probably explain most of it away. But
Ugh, Lynn, and your big brains. Get your big brains out of here. I don't want it. I'm gonna drink mine away.
There's some weird things. I don't know. But anyway, if you guys really want to do a deep dive, go check out Stephanie Harlow. It was really, you watched those with me. They were really good. She did a great job. She did more research than God, even in that class that I had to do, we talked about. So she did a good job.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job.
I don't know. All right, let's see what the poll says. Where are we at this point? 10 votes. So we are 60% medical, 20% possessed, 20% other.
All right, I get it. So, all right, we got some logical thinkers, but we also have some X-Filesers, the I want to believers. That's what I'm going to call us, because I also am there. I always want to believe.
Yeah.
And then, what's the other?
I just put other as in like, something else. I don't know. I just like any other option that there could be versus medical or possession.
I want to know what other people think the other is. Who voted other, and what do you think it could be? Because I need to know.
She changed her stance of them at the moment of poll. I caved possession. Yes.
You know what? Sometimes you just need to be pressed for your answer. You need to be put on the spot, and then you'll answer the right way.
Simon says possession. I see there's some possession people here.
You say Simon says possession because that's hilarious.
I did say that, yes.
That's a fun game. I want to play that one.
Yeah.
Other isn't kind of a cop-out, but I want to know. I'm interested to know what the other is.
Nathan has a good one. Other was real paranormal, but being interfered with via Mick. I like it.
All right.
I like it. I'll go with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Claude says other. So, yeah, I mean, that's what makes this so interesting.
It's a good one.
I keep saying that is because we just don't know. It's a quandary.
That's a mystery. It's a mystery. Yeah, it's a real mystery here. We've got ourselves a mystery.
A Midwest.
Oh my God, Lou, you're driving me crazy.
Oh boy, Lou's possessed.
Yes.
Yeah.
She is the one that possesses her.
She definitely has the smells.
Yeah, she has the burning fecal odor.
And I bet you would chew on some pee-pee undies, some urine undies,
Yeah,
given the opportunity. So look at her stupid face.
What? Mm-hmm. Nasty girl. Gross. Yes. Well, poorly thought. What is Enzo saying? I can't do both of this. Sorry, Lou. Poorly thought out college student also falls under other. Yeah.
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 I mean, yeah, the thesis got me.
The thesis gets me. I didn't know about the thesis. The thesis swung me.
But they said there's so many details. I was trying to condense it, and it still was 7 pages written out.
Yeah, no. It's way too much. I can't even remember like 6 things, let alone all 150 things you said to me. But I do want to say that you at one point mentioned a Father Herman. And I literally, my brain went paging Father Herman, freaking Pee Wee Herman. It went to Pee Wee Herman. Do you remember that? Sorry,
I remember Pee Wee Herman, but
do you remember the movie? I'm so sorry, internet friends. There's like, it's stupid. Never mind. I'll send you a clip later. Goodbye. Oh my goodness. Well, that's it. That's all I have.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the masses are torn. We're all torn. We have no idea.
Yeah. Let me go back and check in case anybody else. Nope. So we will end the poll.
End it.
It has ended. Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, the majority of people think medical. I agree. A lot of it's medical. Can you hear that?
I sure can.
That's a cat in his litter box.
Oh, very nice.
We can hear it.
Speaking of pee-pee panties, we got, is it Steve?
No. He passed away.
What?
I didn't tell you that?
No.
Yes.
I'm learning this on live internet?
No.
I loved Steve the cat, even though I hated him. We had a love-hate relationship.
I know. He was the best. But no, that was Bubby, your buddy.
Rest in peace, Steve.
Yeah. R.I.P. Steve. Okay.
Anyways, demon cats.
Cat taking a dookie. That's
Oh boy. Well, I'm going to bed. No.
Yes, my show has hit a whole new low. We hear the cat in the litter box.
What happens when you ask me on though? I take it I encourage the cats to pee live, and then this is it. It gets real low. Real fast.
I have no idea what we're gonna do next week. We'll think of something, but again,
suggestions.
Yes, good cases we can look at.
Stories, thoughts, topics, anything you guys want to chat about?
I know, right? We can, we have a couple like things we talked about on our podcast that we can dig into too, that I'm sure these people have never heard because nobody listened to it. So
the podcast or the YouTube channel? Which one? YouTube channel was good. The podcast was hilarious and it was it's just like this hidden gem.
It is. But I think we had even on YouTube, we had 43 subscribers or something for that.
Great. We did great.
We did.
We had a lot of views for 43 subscribers.
We did.
Well, kids, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me again.
Hey, thanks for coming on with us.
I love being
fun.
Clothing, appropriate clothing.
You gotta wear. I'm a theme gal. I like to dress to the theme.
I like it.
So, I don't want to get possessed.
I understand it.
Put on all my crosses.
I got it. I like it. Well, rebellious Easter eggs. I don't know what that means, but yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what it means either. We're just gonna go.
Yes, we know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll come up with something. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, let us know in the comments. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for the 12 of you that have stuck around this long. Amazing.
So bad.
I think for the past 40 minutes, we've just been well, I don't really know. It could be, I don't know. What do you think?
I know. Well, this is what happens. This is why when Lynn and I would record for the paranormal spirits, it was always really hard to edit because it was literally an hour and a half a story to 10 minutes of us just being what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And there's I don't know. What do you think? Well, what do you think?
And that was after the hour before we even started of just talking about nothing.
It was just drinking. It was hilarious. Yeah. Well, this has been fun. It's been a good time.
All right. Well, we'll come up with something good next week. So awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We'll see you later.
Bye, kids.
Bye. Wait, where's the thing? Hold on. Okay. Bye.
Shoes and walk among the groups of two. It's not ideal, it's just how we feel. It's a shame we're easily amused. The only cure for this forward motion to make emotions fly away. The air is cold, but the water's not frozen. I see ripples rolling every day. Cast a stone and get a hardcore view. Catchphrase of the day is that it's true. There's no coffee talk and only one way to please. It's a shame what you do moves me. The only cure for this forward motion to make emotion fly away. The air is cold, but the water's not frozen. I see ripples rolling every day. this forward motion.